Currently in progress, episode 17. We are actually back today with an old guest, Robert Guillard, and a new guest being the person he trains, Ben McVeigh. Being able to get their insight on how to train and how their preparation works for what they want to do in the next 5 years is incredible. Way more goes into it than lifting big weights and eating chicken and rice. Stay tuned and learn some more on Currently in Progress. You need to be, though.
Nate rolls out. He's like, ain't no clan, ain't nobody out here. Motherfuckers all stranded and shit got none.
Oh, okay. We are going to be rolling here in just 2 seconds. We'll take that down to there. So, I'll just start off this because we got Ben now. We got Rob. We got the Evolution guys. So, I kind of just came in because I just moved to Mount Pleasant a little bit ago to live with Keegan. And that's when I figured out where Evolution was to actually go there and stuff. And I just started working out there, and obviously 2 or 3 weeks in, you guys you just say hi to me all the time. Rob just always fist bumps, and it's just I don't know you guys at all, but
everyone's
you just
pretty personable in there.
You eventually meet people.
Right. Well, and the only reason that you wouldn't meet people is just if you kind of have that head down mentality and don't really want to talk to people, because everyone in there is pretty genuine. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good environment. So just because meeting people, you also see right when you walk in the powerlifting board and everything, or the
record board.
Yeah. No, what's on the left, the pictures of you guys.
Oh, just the
the competition.
Yeah,
the competition pictures of you guys.
Yeah.
That's also cool to see too, because obviously you're on it.
Yeah.
And and you just got a new one on there because you did a show when
I did my last one in June. And I got fourth at that one. That was the Mr. Michigan. But we're going to go back. And Rob's actually going to do that one with me. And if all goes to plan, we should see each other for the overall of that show.
That'll be the ultimate goal, yeah. But the main goal is to, Ben being my training partner and my athlete, is to excel him to the level he wants to be.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding for me has been something I've been doing, as we spoke before, for 30 plus years. But what brings me the fulfillment is to watch Ben excel at this point, and I'll just compete with him.
Yeah.
Well, and it's such a mutual thing with Rob and I.
Yeah.
There's never been a single day where it gets competitive when we train, but it's not in a...
No, it's just...
It's a healthy way.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like a eustress instead of a distress type of situation that we're utilizing there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mental and physical that goes into it.
For sure.
Psychological.
We just kind of feed off of each other.
Yeah.
When one of us is down, Rob will pick it up, and when Rob's down, I'll kind of pick it up.
Yeah.
It works.
Oh, yeah.
And it just meshes...
I'd say it's almost similar to Franco and Arnold training back in the day. I mean, maybe not quite as intense, but the synergy that we made is similar to that. We're not always on time, we're not always on schedule, but I'd say 70 to 80% of the time we are, and the other 20 to 30, we're able to utilize that on our own, in our own entities, which makes it very profitable for the two of us.
Yeah.
Well, we're both reliable, too. We know that even if Rob and I aren't training together, we're training to the extent that we would if we were together. It's just at different times.
Yeah.
So it's even when we're off track, we're not off track. We're still
on
doing
the same track
exactly.
at the same time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you'll see when you get to Cali, getting off on the 101 or the 405, and then you can meet back up on the 5 type of thing. There's so many freeways out there. It's similar to that, we just take a quick exit for a hot second, and then we're back booming it again. But the communication level is almost every day between the two of us, whether it's nutrition, it's training, like Ben had mentioned, it's... you have your highs and your lows too.
Yep.
It's nice to have a bro to pick you up.
Oh, for sure.
Real.
You need it.
So, how did it originally start? How did you guys meet each other?
So, I had just done my first Men Physique show in 2019, and then that's kind of when I was all right, I want to try and do this. So then, in my head, I was I need to put myself in that atmosphere to where I'm going to be able to make connections and meet people and kind of just see what I can do in the sport. So then I ended up getting a job at Evolution Fitness. And then I was working there, and I'd always see Rob come in, and he was always super energized, and he'd always fist bump everyone, whether he knew him or not. And then the one day he came up to me and he was just kind of shooting the shit with me. He's like, is that you on the wall? Because I had like my recent show picture, like you were saying, up on the wall, and I was
The
like,
fitness one.
yeah,
The first one. Yeah.
yeah. So then,
Or men's physique, excuse me.
yeah. So then he's like, no kidding. He's like, did you have a coach or like whatever? And I did, but it was all online, and I was like, yeah. And then he asked me, he's like, well, what do you want to do as a sport? And I was like, I want to take it as far as I possibly can. And he looked at me and he was kind of like shocked, I think, because I didn't say it with like a smile or anything. And
Well, what originally happened was he's 100% correct that I got a little confused, thought that he wanted to do bodybuilding, you know, in the open division. So at first I was like, well, that's a pretty quick long-term goal to get to that level with where we are in bodybuilding today, which is at a whole different level than I was. But once he clarified for me that he wanted to do the men's classic, I was like, let's do it, man.
Yeah.
Let's take it all the way. I mean, not that he couldn't do bodybuilding. That's not the case by any means.
Yep.
But what attracted me to it was that what he's trying to do is extremely equivalent or relevant to what I was doing in the 90s.
Yeah.
So the physique he wants to build, I could picture it on him.
Yep.
And I was able to like visualize it. And then once he said men's classic, I was like, we can do this. So he had dates already picked out. He had timelines set up. I mean, everything was critical the way he wanted to do it. So then I started pinpointing what we need to do on a short-term goal basis within the 5-year long-term.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of came in.
yeah.
And you already had those, like he said, you already had like a timeline like planned out. Like you already had this all written up.
So I had like my like long-term, I have like short-term goals and I have like long-term
Yeah.
goals, and yeah,
He did.
I
Yeah.
knew exactly what I wanted to do. I just didn't know exactly how I was going to get
Get there. But you knew exactly where you were going to end up.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then I told Rob, I was like, I want to take this as far as I possibly can. And he just kind of looked at me and he like, it kind of got like more serious, but like, I think
Yeah.
he was almost like, whoa. He's like, he's actually kind of serious.
Yeah.
So then he gave me his number and then he told me to text him. And then the one night I went over and I met his family, and they just kind of treated me like family, and then it just kind of excelled like that.
Then
And
that's how it started.
yeah, it started out, we train probably once or twice a week, and then,
And this is back just over a year ago.
yeah.
About a year ago. Oh, just over a year ago.
I want to say I met you October of last
It
year.
was in October-ish, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So then we were training 2 days a week probably, and I just like started working at the gym and I was doing school. And then it just kind of escalated and escalated and escalated, and then we ended up like training every single day, and we just kept progressing like as partners.
Yeah.
And it was
As a
awesome.
team, yeah, definitely. You know.
And like there probably wasn't even any communication in the sense of like that we're gonna keep doing this. It's just kind of like, oh, you're gonna be here tomorrow. I'm gonna be here tomorrow. Okay, cool. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, there wasn't.
Originally it was exactly like that, and then one of the unique things was with the college environment, the family environment, and the training environment. Ben's parents came up. We sat down, had some beers, and we kicked it, and had a couple, talks and stuff. His mom and sister, I believe, came up, and your dad, and everybody. Matt was there, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
They've been up a few times, and he introduced me as his coach, as his friend, and it was nice to talk to his folks, because a lot of times parents, siblings, family members don't understand what we're doing.
Yep.
It's really relative to the industry itself.
Well, and this is like because at the end of the day, like it is a career path, and it's just not one that a lot of people choose to take. So like when I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to bodybuild for a living, and they're just
yeah.
They don't really
like, are you
understand.
gonna make enough to do like what we want you to do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're like, how are you going to do that and all this stuff? And then to me, like when I met Robert, I was like, it felt like the puzzle pieces were like lining up, and I was like, dude, I can do this.
Oh yeah.
Like I know I can do this. And yeah,
Every day's better and better and better.
Yeah.
It's we've had a few speed bumps here and there. We at one point we tried to take on too many athletes. We just finally realized through trial and error that the real way to only do this, or the only way to really do this, would be to have a one-on-one situation.
Yeah.
You just can't. It's not that we don't take time out for everybody else anymore. We still do, but we don't open up our nucleus or
your guys'
our little
training
bubble.
session. Yeah. It's just a higher priority between you two?
Well, and it's the same vision.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone, like, people love the idea of being a bodybuilder and, like, looking a certain way, but then when they, like, go through the process of, like, what you have to do in order to look a certain way, they're like, oh, they kind of shy back a little bit. Rob has been doing it for 30 plus years, and then I just personally know that this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I know that now I can do it. And like you said, like, we had some speed bumps, but like nothing ever changed.
Yeah.
Like,
The speed bumps are just there. I mean, it's gonna.
They were there
happen,
for a
but-
reason.
Yeah.
Right.
I honestly believe that now. That
Yeah.
just like a speed bump slows you down, right here in the complex, those speed bumps helped to get me back to reality. And Ben, as young as he is, was actually pulling me that way and saying, get your head straight again on what we're doing, and we did it.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah.
Well, and I could not, like, because when I first met Rob, I was like, all right, like, who is this guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is this is really neat. You'll dig this, Nate. Go ahead.
So then he was like, yeah, I used to bodybuild back in the day with, like, Michael.
But I want to point out, I never told anybody who I was.
Yeah.
I was always quiet.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
I didn't
believe
know
in
until
humility.
someone else told
I believe
me.
in humility
Yeah.
and always being humble in this
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
So then I was like, who is this guy? And he said he's bodybuilt, and I was like, I've never seen pictures of him or anything. And then I think I was at your house the one night that you pulled him out, but he was in this Muscle and Fitness magazine, and he was like right underneath these guys like Sean Ray and Mike O'Hearn, who are
Yeah.
Who I competed
at the
with.
time were
Not
like
Sean
at the
Ray.
pinnacle of the
Yeah.
Of
sport.
that era.
And I just
Yeah.
could not believe. I was just like, oh my god.
And I slowly introduced him to pictures and then my videos, and then as we spoke earlier, competing at the Cal, third in the nation as amateur. And then I got the Muscle and Fitness out, and just everything. And the reason that I showed him that was because not only are we going to bodybuild or be in the fitness industry, now it's a lucrative market.
Yeah.
And marketing and YouTube and Twitter and
Yeah.
Instagram and all those are a crucial part of being successful now in this industry.
Yeah.
Where in the 90s, shit, you're lucky to get the freaking Mac going
Yeah.
on a hot day.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's funny because a few months ago, I don't remember when I went to Texas with Kyle, but when we were down there, we went to this gym called Metroflex, and that was Ronnie Coleman's gym, like back when he trained. It's like a lot of guys that were successful in the sport, like they trained there. And I was fortunate enough, Kyle like invited me, and, like took care of me that trip, and we went down to that gym, and the one day Kyle and I were posing, and the one guy came up and he's like I like your physique, and like, do you have a coach or anything? He's like, who's your coach? And I was like, Robert Gaillard. And he looks at me, he's like, no
way.
shit.
Yeah.
And he knew who he was, and I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Because he was about
Yeah.
Rob's age, and I was just like, I cannot believe that this guy is like all
Yeah.
over the country. Like, everyone knows him.
You have fabricators in the industry, which you see, and then you just have down genuine real people like myself and Ben,
Yep.
who really care about the ultimate objective or the ultimate goal and what's going to come out of this. One of the most important things to me is working with Ben as an athlete is to make sure his health is always good, his mind is always set correct, and that his dream can come true through that without sacrificing doing things that he doesn't need to do.
Yeah.
Putting it simply.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And like, so throughout this journey, you guys all, like, after you guys met up and you guys committed to like the first show, because obviously you had the picture up there before and now you have the picture now, and it's clear, like, way different. So how did that training session and how did that training period work with you guys?
From like when I first met him to
Yeah. So how did that start? Like, what was the real in and outs of that training? Like, what did you guys like specifically work on? Well, like, what were the things that like you knew that like, hey, we have to do this?
So my first show in 2019, I was on stage at like 155 pounds. I mean, I was like skin and bone.
Yeah.
I mean,
But dialed.
I was ripped, but
Totally
I wasn't big enough. So I knew, like, going into that, like my growth season after that show, I was like, I need to just be bigger. And
We
That's
worked on
exactly
nutrition
what we
together.
did.
We worked on supplementation together. We worked on training together. And again, to re-emphasize, what we did is we started with a lot of old school movements. And a lot of drop sets, supersets, heavy movements, stuff that Ben had maybe done before, but not to the level. Because if you remember clearly, You can go back to October, November, December, January. We were pushing.
We were.
We were pushing like stuff he'd never even seen before.
Yeah.
Now, again, to re-emphasize on that as we go into phase 2, now we're pushing to another level.
Yeah.
And we're just piggybacking slow and accordingly. You know, we're not trying to win the Mr. Olympia in 2022, although that would be nice. We're trying to qualify, which we will do.
Yeah.
And then from there, as he qualifies, then he'll go to nationals, which will probably take us, I'd say, 18 months, 2 years at the most, which then puts us into 2024. And as we roll into 2025, he'll be qualified.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Yeah.
So,
it's,
but-
it's a good long-term goal. Yeah.
It's a realistic
very-
long-term
yeah.
goal.
It's doable.
It's
That's
yeah,
the best part.
Yeah.
It's a healthy, doable way to become, you know, really good at what you do.
Yeah.
So then I was 155 at that show in 2019, and then that following year in 2020. Was it 2020 or was it 2021?
2020, because just June you didn't compete. You did compete this June.
Yeah.
2021, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had taken that full year off. to
Yeah, and
put
what
on
we
the
were.
sets. So then at this past show in June, I was 184.
Right. And,
Yeah, it's a 30-pound difference.
Right.
And, you know, realistically looking at that margin of 35 pounds, if you wanted to compare the two pictures, which we're looking up on the wall in his room
Oh,
right
yeah.
now, is
I didn't
you
know
can
that.
see that the quality of the muscle and that his body potentially needs a shock system in order to do that, but his quality maintained.
Yeah.
And it was just a completely different style of training, I believe. Not that he wasn't deadlifting, not that he wasn't benching, but there were other things that I was fortunate enough to learn through my career in bodybuilding. I paid forward to him.
Well, he just started me from like absolute ground zero.
Yeah.
Like the first day, he like taught me how to do calves.
Yeah.
And my calves were so sore. The next day, I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
Like that little movement or that little tweak was all it took. Yeah.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
just like a different. He like switched my mind like towards training. Like he taught me how to train. Like everyone knows how to train,
Yeah.
so to speak. I mean, it's not that simple if you go in the. Or it's
Yeah.
not that complicated. You go into the machine, you do the movement, and you're good.
Yeah.
But he like brought that like muscle mind connection to me, and then he like taught me how to go about like my training in order to be able to do this sport for as long as I can, and
Additionally,
to just continue
yeah.
to train in a way that's gonna be as most linear as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And additionally, you know, I was just thinking, no, scratch that. Go ahead, Ben.
No, so I got a question. So like you said, you don't bench or deadlift with a barbell, I should say. And I've seen that, and I always wondered that, but like I never questioned it because obviously I'm not gonna question what you guys do. But like the Smith machine, you squat on that, and I'll tell you what. I hate squatting on the Smith machine, and you take 3 plates and you just take it for a fucking ride.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, dang, like I don't even care if that's on a Smith machine or not. Like I can't do that. Like that's nuts. And like deadlifting, you do still on the Smith machine too. And I always wondered why. I mean, my guess was more like mind muscle connection. There's less
Exactly.
there's less variables.
Well, and it's when you got like a free bar on your back, like there's a lot more like stabilizing
Yeah.
muscles and everything. But when you go into that Smith machine, you're kind of locked in. Like you can really focus on like,
one
the
thing,
muscles
yeah.
that you're
Exactly.
trying to push.
But we didn't put that into the protocol or the training until after we had already developed a tendon, ligament, bone strength through these external sources
Yep.
and developed this intracellular response to his body. So physiologically, he adapted to those heavy movements. Then we can move over to non-three-dimensional movements because we developed that muscle, that muscle around there. And now we can begin to target and just work on, like you had said, more of a controlled motion.
Yeah.
But yet the strength, the base strength is still there. So the progress is, again, it's just a different style of shocking
Yeah.
the system.
So then so that first year not the first year, but the first few months, he like taught me how we're gonna train, and then like I got to the point where I'd be able to train by myself, but there was still so much that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So then, like as I was getting stronger, Rob would like put on this weight that I had never even thought that I'd ever be able to touch. And he's like, all right, you're gonna do this for this amount, and he did this visual imager with me. And at first I was just like, dude, this guy's fucking crazy. I'm like, I don't know what the hell
This
is he
weird
about
as
to
shit,
do.
yeah.
So he'd have me close my eyes, and he's like, we're gonna do 7 reps. And he's like, you're gonna close your eyes, count to 7, and then when you open your eyes, you're gonna do it. He's like, don't fucking think, don't do nothing. He's like, just push the weight.
Yeah.
And every single time, it worked exactly like that.
Dang. Where do you where do you know where you got that from
Yeah,
originally?
I do. As a matter of fact, I was studying exercise science in Cal State University Long Beach at the time.
Yep.
And I was fortunate enough to have Dr. Garhammer, one of the world's strength training specialists back in the day, as one of my biomechanics teachers. Worked with a few of the other huge powerlifters back in the 90s. And I think I had maybe 3 or different 400 level courses with this cat. And he used to come to my bodybuilding shows, and he was such an inspiration into my life and showing me how to train. Now, additionally, to tap onto what Ben was saying, was that not only when Ben came to me, posing for him was subpar.
It was.
Subpar meaning subpar for him.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just talking about Ben right now. In the industry, he wasn't subpar. And posing for me I was fortunate enough to have some really cool cats in Cali help me with posing, and my mom was a musician, etc. And now Ben's posing better than I am. And he's leading the show. I got people asking left and right, because Ben helped me with the routine, and it just begins to escalate. But he's taken his posing to the highest level, and this was evident in the June show. He smoked the entire show posing. And there used to be best posing, most muscular stuff. They don't have that anymore for whatever reason. But in my day, they did, and that was super important in the scoring. So I was able to take somebody who couldn't even move side to side, stretching out, doing some of this artistic posing that you see back in the day from, individuals like Samir Banal, Sean Ray, a few of the others. And then to this day, in the men's open, you've got Chris Armstead, and these guys, and he's able to put it all together into a melting pot, make a little jambalaya posing, which is amazing.
Well, especially with the classic division, because the open bodybuilding is about size.
God, I don't even
Size
think you
and
could count music when we started.
I couldn't.
And we started
it's
cueing
unbelievable.
and talking how to cue and count, and then he started to take off.
So then, I kind of got hooked on the whole posing thing, because I was I saw that I wasn't bad at it, so to speak, but it's not necessarily that the poses are hard. It's more so getting from one pose to the next without looking all shaky and just trying to move and not fall down.
Yeah.
So then I was I think I have posed every single day.
Yeah,
ever
neat.
since I
I
started
mean, every
working
time
with
I see you at the gym, you pose at the end. Yeah.
Well, and people look at me weird, and it's whatever. But
Now people look at him with admiration.
Yeah,
right,
And,
yeah.
and
but
inspiration
at
as
the
well.
beginning, people were like, "What the fuck is he doing in his underwear?" I'm just like, "I ain't doing it for you." I can tell you that.
So,
Yeah.
he's got his own freaking peanut gallery that follows him around. It's pretty fucking funny. That's just a fun way of putting it.
Yeah.
But it's actually very flattering
Yeah,
it
that
is.
we get the kind of accolades that we get.
Because
And
I saw your one you posted on Instagram, and then they got who reposted
It
that?
was buys and tries. I was really excited about that.
Yeah?
Because I don't even know if I told you about this. It's this. It's basically bodybuilding news, and it's the main source of information
I know it,
for
yeah.
bodybuilding.
Yeah,
And they reposted me, and I was just like,
Oh, yeah.
I must be doing something right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's sweet when people actually that or the people that you want to see actually say oh yeah, we saw that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, and it just makes it feel all right, I'm on the right track. And it's
Yeah.
the way and it's not always easy. It's never fucking easy.
Yeah.
But in my head, I want to do every single thing right that I can to
Yeah.
progress the way that I want to and look the way that I want. And I know that there's certain things I won't be able to do, and there's certain things I won't be able to eat. And
But that's
To
just
me,
the
it's just worth
mindset,
it.
Yeah, the mindset you have going into it. Those kind of sacrifices are easy.
right.
The
Yeah.
reward farly outweighs the suffering.
Yeah.
If you have the passion and the desire to do it.
Yeah.
And like Ben had mentioned earlier, there's maybe 1 to 5% of the population that's at the level of fitness and bodybuilding that you need to be able to be successful. I would say 5 to 10% max.
Yeah.
If that.
If
If
that
that,
even, if
I was
that.
I
It could
was
be 1
joking
to
with someone the
5%.
other day. I was like 90% of the world probably couldn't run a mile anymore.
No.
And I'm like if you think about it, that is not a far fetched number.
It's not.
And it's unbelievable that
Well, and
that's
especially
the
the
standard.
way the fitness industry works nowadays.
yeah.
It's there's so much BS. There's
Yeah.
so much.
Across the board. It doesn't matter what field you're in the exercise, as long as it involves exercise, there's someone bullshitting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and Rob was I remember when he first started training me, he's like, you see people do all these stupid movements, all this bullshit, and it's like, why do you think the old school bodybuilders are training just like the new ones are training? It's like the wheel, it doesn't need to be reinvented.
Yeah.
I mean, it works for a reason.
Right.
It's like the food stays the same, the training stays the same, like the shows stay the same. Bodybuilding isn't. It's pretty cut and dry what you have to do. It's just a matter
who's
of
willing to do
exactly.
it. Yeah. I mean, that's like, you think about it, the people that were originally bodybuilding, I mean, they got to that point doing, you know, what they knew back
Right.
then. Like, obviously, with all the advancements we've had, like, still, they got there with that knowledge. You can still get there with that knowledge. You don't need to like you said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
I think you made a great point earlier too on, you know, we hadn't met you yet at the time and you didn't see our original training, but it all stemmed around the basis of bodybuilding and the shocks theory.
Yeah.
That's how I based it off for him, knowing exactly what he needed. Then we were able to implement, like you said, the new technology, meaning like hammer strength's not all that new. It came out in the early or late 90s, which was a phenomenal engineering design for equipment for people. However, it wasn't, you know, still free weights. And we did all those movements and we incorporated those with hammer strength. And then, you know, Ben would come up with a couple different things and I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's cool, whatever. Let's move on to this right here. and see
He's
how
like,
this
all right,
works."
you're done.
And then we can go back later and pretend we're doing what you were doing. So, but I mean, no, I don't mean like that. But, you know, it was just, and I never pushed him so hard that there's a difference in how you push people.
Oh, yeah.
You have to understand the individual's limitations and what they're capable of physically, but more importantly, mentally.
Yeah.
And I was just, like Ben had said, it clicked. And it's so relative to what he's going through, to what I went through at 17, Marine Corps, and then into bodybuilding. I was just at a little older age, you know, when I got really, really into it.
Yeah.
I'm 21 now, I was 23.
Yeah.
22. I got out of the Marine Corps, 23. So, really, there's a 2-year gap in age, but the theories, the principles, the goals, everything are totally identical to what I did.
Yeah.
You know, and if I didn't think that was possible, I wouldn't have taken him on. I mean, Ben and I our relationship has been purely platonic on what we need to do in helping each other. I'm not officially his paid coach. He's not a client. He's a training partner. And being able to pay this forward for me is not only good for him, but it's helped me a great deal as well.
Yeah.
You know, seeing, you know, it gets me in tune with the new generation, what's going on. But more importantly, you know, just building a friendship through training and everything we do is enough for me.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Well, and people always ask me, they're like, because they see my Instagram stories or like my pictures, they're like, who's your coach? Like, they ask me how much I pay him and all this stuff. I'm just like, he doesn't let me pay him. And I'm like,
First of all, it's not your business, but
right, exactly. But like, Rob is so much more than just my coach. Like my last prep, I think it was like 8 weeks out.
God damn, we were almost living together.
Yeah, and my girlfriend broke up with me of like 4+ years, and
We had a big speed bump with that.
yeah, and I, to put it blunt, like I was over at his house like just crying to him, and I was so damn close to quitting.
And we
I
left.
was so close.
And then we left for Aruba, and he stayed at my house for 10 days. Ran my house for me and my dogs and everything.
Yeah.
And the only promise he had to make to me is that when I left and I came back, that he had done his homework. And boy, I'll tell you, in 10 days, he's changed even that much more, which reinforced to me that he was for real.
Yeah.
So, which I already knew he was for real in the beginning, but I've tested him quite a few times.
It's nice when you challenge someone and then all of a sudden they exceed the challenge, and then it's like, oh shit.
I'm
like,
blown away by his posing. I'm blown away by his vision, and it just reminds me of me when I was that age. But there were certain limitations that I had put, and there's certain limitations I put on Ben as his coach, is just that you got to listen to me.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I think I was telling you earlier, somebody works for company A for 30 years and someone's worked for 31 years and they come in and try to tell you your business, and it's like, well, you know what? I've got this apprentice who's listening to me and he questions me, which is good. Sometimes he doesn't. And I was just able to tell him today, if somebody of 30 years plus experience were telling me what to do, I would sit down and fucking listen.
Yeah.
Instead of fucking try to debate with them.
Yeah.
And we're not taking debate 101 at CMU, bro. We're fucking training.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So.
But he would always do these little things like, and at first, because I didn't really know him that well.
Yeah.
And he would do like these psychological things, and he would be testing me to like see. It would be simple things of like, is this guy gonna like unrack his weights? Is he gonna like wipe the machine down, or is he gonna wait for me to do it?
Yeah.
And I think I did it. I think
It was
I
all
did
perfect.
it
It
all.
was always someone was on the racking, someone was cleaning, and then we would just move on and meet. We just kind of knew. And we've had days where the connection level has been off a little bit, but we've had days where we both leave just so euphoric.
Yeah.
You know, it's
because
just blown
everything
up.
just gets done.
Gets done.
Yeah.
And that day is completed. Once the training is completed, then the next mission of the day, throughout the day, is obviously the nutrition, but the most important factor is rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how hard you train or how well you eat.
If you don't recover.
If you don't recover, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
So
No, but back to like having everything be done, like you said, someone cleaning behind you as you lift and doing all that. Like working with Central, you like in the strength conditioning field, that is like the pinnacle. Like that right there is
it's
like
interesting to know.
it's weird because like I mean, you don't think like my role as like an intern in that field is like, oh, the guy that cleans, the guy that picks everything up. It's like, well, if you think about it, if I didn't do it, he would have to do it. And if he had to do it, he wouldn't be as good as what he's doing all these other things. And it's like, yeah, you're cleaning up weights for like a job, but you're also making everything so much smoother.
But if you don't pick
Exactly.
up those weights, everyone's gonna be like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Yeah, everyone's gonna be like, where's my weight? Like, where's this? Where's that? And it's just like, dude, like, if you understand the organization level to it.
And that's a perfect statement you just made. The organization level goes even furthermore, as simply as 2.5 pound weights, 5 pound weights, 10 pound weights, 20. It just blows my mind that these people are so lazy that they can't put those together. And what does that tell you about their lifestyle?
Yeah.
It's that simple. Okay, first of all, if they're not cleaning, they're fucking nasty. Okay, number two is if they ain't putting their weights back, then their house is a mess.
Yeah.
And if your house isn't squared away, then what's your life like?
Yeah.
You know?
Because if you're worried about that's another thing. Like once you like college wise, I just moved into a duplex recently. So then like, I mean, it's me and another guys, and like we're keeping this clean. So like you have that sense of responsibility of your own home, and when you do have such a clean home, you get home and you're like, okay, what can I do now?
You're already ahead.
You're already ahead. You're already like, okay, now I'm working on the stuff I actually want to work on. I'm not worried about the food I'm prepping or the dishes I have to do or the bed I have to make. It's already done.
Exactly.
Am I going to lift now? I'm going to lift now.
Well, I'm not that perfect, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And sometimes the bed ain't made or the room's a little messy, but outside of that.
Yeah,
you
the
know,
bedroom's
you
a
know.
different thing, but the
But
rest,
you know what
like,
I'm
yeah,
saying? Yeah, the house, for the most part, our house is a squared away. And Ben,
Yep.
that was one of the things I liked about Ben was I first came over here and we were talking back and I was like, of course I'm looking around his room. Everything's meticulous. Mm-hmm. You know, it's all squared away. It's not your typical college environment type of individual.
Well, that's
you
just
know.
how I was raised.
Exactly.
My mom's like, "You better clean your fucking shit up."
Yeah, and you know that's probably the reason why my wife and my daughter and everybody liked Ben so much, and his family as well.
Yeah.
Well, and
You
it
know,
was so weird. It wasn't weird, but it was just, it kind of caught me off guard because I went over there, and that first time I was like kind of on edge. I was like,
Sure.
I don't really know any of these people. But then like the second or third time, I was like, dude, I'm so comfortable over here. Like,
very good.
and then they'd make me dinner, and I just felt like so at home. And like we said, like during my prep, I mean, I was basically like living at his house.
Yeah, he was prepping his food sometimes and doing things like that, and you know, it worked out good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes, even though he's making this a conducive environment in his apartment with 2 other college roommates, which he's good friends with, that type of environment is not always conducive,
No, it's not.
to what he needed. So, I had the opportunity and the privilege of opening my home to somebody who would actually care for my place too as well. I didn't know that we were, at the time when Ben and I started training, Aruba wasn't on the books yet, but then I was like, he returned, theoretically if I would have had somebody watch the house, it would have cost me a G, straight, and he handled everything for me.
Yeah.
So that was a reciprocating, situation. Came home, the house was immaculate, everything was good to go.
Yeah.
It was just pretty impressive. I was pretty impressed.
Because when you left, I was a little stressed out because I was like, I don't want to fuck this up.
Yeah.
So then, I fucking cleaned the house like every single day.
It was
and then,
nice. shampooed the carpets.
Because I was like,
awesome,
dude,
yeah.
I'm not leaving nothing.
It was good to go, man. It was good to go for sure.
And then you come home, like we talked about, like now the house is clean, so now
Well,
what am I doing?
He took us to Grand Rapids, picked us up from Grand Rapids. I mean, he was there waiting for us right when we got off the plane.
Yeah.
Dropped us off for the plane. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. You know,
Well, and that's
sure.
kind of like a whole. I think it says a lot about our relationship too. It's just like there's things that are expected,
Yeah.
and it's not even that they're expected. It's not like they're
It just
said. It's
gets
not like
done.
he told me to like clean his house or like do
Yeah.
this or do that. It's just fucking do it.
Yeah.
It's not like anything's like that hard. It's just
Nobody's
you're
keeping
the kind
score.
of person
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
There's no score here. Nobody's keeping score. We're just pressing forward.
Yeah.
You know? There's so many little things in life that you don't get because you don't explore them. Whether
Yeah.
you're afraid, whether you're intimidated, but this goes back to both of us in the back posing in underwears or shorts or whatever we do. That's a huge milestone for any individual to take because there's so much consciousness and lack of consciousness on how people feel about their well-being.
Yeah.
So it looks foreign to people, but when they realize that they see you consistently moving forward,
Yeah.
it's impressive to them. And now Ben has, nutrition, training, everybody wants to know what Ben knows.
Yeah.
And I get to be the one to sit back and watch him excel at that and just be his coach in the background and his friend. And to
Yeah.
me, that's super rewarding.
And that's the thing, because when I first started working at that gym, like, the majority of people that would walk in, they wouldn't really. I mean, I'd always say hi to people. That's just kind of how I am.
Yeah.
But like, no one really wanted anything to do with me. No one really asked me for help. No one really
Yeah.
like did anything. But now it's like,
Oh, shit.
Over inundated.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Now
Turning
it's-
people away.
one, I would love to train people, but I've tried it, and I just feel like it kind of takes away from like what I want
Yeah.
and like
And
what
like
I'm
you said,
trying
if
to
you
do.
if you're doing the one-on-one with you guys, you're not gonna go take on a client and then make him like
Exactly.
don't ruin the nucleus.
Exactly.
There is a tad bit of ego and selfishness and things that you have to do to be in this industry, but they don't have to be done in a mannerism that you're arrogant. Arrogance isn't going to get you anywhere. Outside of when I'm with Ben, one of the unique things is when people see us train now, they don't bother us. If it's anything, I'm talking to somebody. Ben's got to reel me back in, and it's just because I'm happy. The gym is where I'm happy. It's not like I'm not unhappy anywhere else, but the gym. I mean, I take my daughter in there 2, 3, 4 times a week too.
Yeah.
And we train. She's 15.
That was absolutely awesome.
And
to
it was
see.
just incredible on Father's Day to have her come ask me. But the point I'm trying to make is that you don't have to be that egotistical, materialistic person because that makes no difference here and there by the time you step on stage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I guarantee through all my years and what I've experienced is that those people that are humble are more respected.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at the guy that just won, Chris Bumstead, he just won his 3rd Olympia. I think it was last week. And you listen to his speech, he didn't talk about himself a single time.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why.
Yeah.
It's like, like Rob and I will be like, oh, you don't got nothing on this bicep or
Yeah,
some shit like
yeah.
that. But that's all in like good fun, but it's like being cocky or arrogant, I mean, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's
You
like
know, lat lock syndrome exists only in those that want to lat their locks. Lock out their lats. There's no need to fucking be walking around like you're flying. You know what I mean? You're just not that big. So.
It's funny that it's those
Call it
guys that are
LLS,
like, yeah,
lat
like
lock
can
syndrome.
you walk through the door like
Yeah.
unless you go sideways and shit like that, like
your
yeah,
legs are so big you gotta walk like you just got off a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude.
one for me to like, because like I know what I want.
yeah,
Like I got a painting that I painted last year. It says
2025.
Olympia 2025. That's
Yeah.
when I want to. That's when I want to qualify. And
That was
it's
the
like,
first thing I noticed when I came in here was that. And when I saw that, it was solid.
And I was like, I need to be acting and like doing the things that these guys on the Olympia stage are doing, and none of them are cocky, none of them are arrogant. I mean, they just, well, yeah, they show off their muscles and shit, but it's their job.
that's the job.
That's
Yeah,
what they
Right.
do.
yeah,
And
That's the artistic portion of being into bodybuilding or fitness or whatever you're doing. It's
Yeah.
not just about moving weights like Ben had mentioned. There's a different things in there. You could take. I learned this from the military. You could take the most stable structure, a triangle, which you guys probably have heard of before. That triangle is the most stable design that you could have. So each one of those each one of those pieces to that triangle can represent training, nutrition, sleep. You keep those tight in there, then nothing can break the foundation of that triangle. So we learned that like in the Marine Corps too, that how we would operate. So you always had people with you on the sides, this and that, and that triangle could never break.
Yeah.
And that's why we're the force we were.
Yeah.
So just an analogy.
Well, I think part of that comes from your military too.
That's what. It's definitely no question about that. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's stuff you learn. I mean, you learned that you were there before anything, before training at all.
Well, I had done one bodybuilding show prior to going in. I was 17.
Yeah.
But the military didn't allow me enough time to, and we're going to get off this subject in a sec. Military didn't apply enough time for me to bodybuild the way I wanted to do it. But when I got out, I was in the exact same situation. Ben was college, working full time, college full time. Well, I was working half time, running in the gym, worked college full time. Making it on, not much money.
Yeah.
I had my GI Bill and a few dollars here and there, and I worked on the side, but, it wasn't anything spectacular.
Yeah.
Well, in the sport of bodybuilding, I mean, it's, for me, like, eventually, I would absolutely love to be able to make a living and make the money that I want to do, doing what I love.
Yeah.
But even if I don't make money, it's like, this is what I feel like I'm good at. And this
Still
is
the
like,
goal regardless.
Right. And I got into the whole sport just like from depression. Like I didn't really have like structure to my life, and this
added the structure.
This gave me that structure, and I was like, it's not really even something that you can be like good at, but it's how regimented you are and what you do with your time. And it's especially at the amateur level, I think it's about how you manage your time and like how you prioritize your things.
Yeah.
Because if you don't prioritize bodybuilding, especially being in college, you're fucked.
Yeah. You're not going to make the gains you need to make to get to the level you need to be.
And you could still make it, but it's going to take a hell of a lot longer. That's why you see these guys that are on this. There's a guy in Classic Physique that got, I want to say 4th, and he's 22 years old. It's just because he knew what he wanted, I'm sure, and he put his head down and he just worked for it.
The guy from Germany you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He looked fantastic.
He did.
But, that physique that he currently holds, I was looking at it the other day, Ben will look like that by 2022, if not 2023 at the latest. He'll have a very similar physique to the 4th place. It's ironic. It's weird because the first placings at the top 4, top 5 at the pro level, although very competitive, after that 4th place, everything seems to drop off. And then you go to the amateur level, and if you look at the high level and the amateur level, top, say, 5 individuals in each class at the amateur level, they're just as good as the pros. They're just trying to get their pro card.
Yeah.
So that's the reality that we're dealing with, is that, yes, Ben will be pro, but we've got to break through that amateur barrier first. Very similar to what I did.
And it can happen quick.
Yeah.
Very quick. There's a guy, Nick Walker, he just got 5th at the Olympian bodybuilding. And last year, he was an amateur.
Yeah.
So then he won...
The Arnold?
He won... Well, first it was the New York Pro. Mm-hmm. And before that, he won his pro card at...
would have been the New York Pro, right? Or no, before that, he would have won at the Nationals somewhere, maybe in Florida or...
It was in Pittsburgh. I can't freaking think of the show.
There's probably, 5 or 10 national shows a year where you can qualify to go pro. And, so...
And that's what... So where in the journey are we at for you on that?
So...
When would that be?
The plan is to win this show, be Mr. Michigan, and then...
recalculate where we're at that point, and then we have a year to 2 to get him to win a national show. Relatively, a realistic way to thinking of it is that after we win the Mr. Michigan, then we'll probably we'll go into phase 3, and then we'll go into another similar training style to bulk, to cut, to bulk, to cut. We do it a lot different than a lot of people do. A lot of people will bulk and then just cut for one show. But we prepare to bulk, cut, and then eventually cut completely.
Yeah.
That way it allows us to control our bodies much better. And I'm doing it side by side with him.
Yeah.
Which makes it a lot easier to understand for both of us.
Well, it's getting easier for me. Because when I first met Rob, I mean, my training wasn't all that good. I knew my nutrition was pretty good. But, I mean,
your nutrition was spot on.
It could always be better. But then, so that first year, it's not that I wasn't comfortable doing what we were doing, but there were... some certain things that we implemented that I hadn't done before. So I was like, am I doing this right?
Just a learning curve.
Yeah. Right. So now this next show, I mean, there's gonna be no distractions, and
Yeah.
I know exactly what I have to do, and it's a matter of doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely here for it.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely ready for standing next to someone on stage and absolutely knowing that I worked harder than they did.
Can I get a hallelujah? Yeah. So, you know, it's just to retract for a moment
Yep.
and talk about speed bumps really quick. Each speed bump that we encountered, Ben mentioned earlier, this and that, girlfriend, whatever, I went through that so many times myself. But it was evident to me, because we were so in tune with each other, that something was going on. Ben would usually wait a day or two to tell me. He'd try to figure it out on his own. And I was never trying to make choices for Ben by any means. But I could always, you know, I'm 52, Ben's 21. There's a relative difference in age and experience and lifestyles. So the point I was making is that some of those speed bumps are larger than others, but he's already conquered so many speed bumps that basically our channel or our freeway to go to the Mr. Michigan and then to the Nationals or the Pros seems to be unaltercated at this point.
Yeah.
And we'll deal with whatever speed bumps come at that point.
But
But nothing as big
I
as what
don't-
he just went through.
Yeah.
There will be no distractions
And,
like
you
that
know,
for this
and
next
his
show.
gains, his attitude, and everything within a 48-hour time period. The way he changed so quickly, I realized how in-depthly some of these speed bumps were affecting him.
I mean, I was
And,
fucked up. I was pretty fucked up.
We
for a
were
while.
able to pull through those, and here we are.
Yeah.
Man, pushing forward and better than ever.
And the fact that you can take on those early rather than late and not have them be unexpected right before a show or something, you know, it's
Well,
a lot easier to know.
When that like whole breakup thing was going on, Rob, I mean, he told me, he was like, if you don't want to do this, like, I'm still gonna be your friend, like, I'm still gonna be here,
Yeah.
we can still train together, but like, we don't have to pursue like bodybuilding. And then when he said that, I was just like, dude, fuck all that. I know
Never
exactly what I
hesitated,
want.
man. He never hesitated to change his goal. And the thing that's great about the way he explains it to people is that, again, he's not arrogant and he's not cocky. He's just truthful,
Just committed.
committed and truthful.
Yeah.
And what does that say about today?
Yeah.
You
No,
find
yeah.
somebody like that, you want to bond with them.
Yeah.
Because there's probably this many people, like your father's probably told you, and there's probably this many people on one hand that you can count in your life that at my age I can count maybe 5. John, Clint, you know, a few others that I have, my boys in Cali,
Yeah.
everybody. And those people I can still go back to today and say, hey, what's up? It's just like we never left.
Yeah.
You know, they're still there doing their thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping for them.
Yeah. No,
I
that's- yeah.
cannot wait till I turn pro and I'm able to like send Rob and his family like plane tickets to pro shows and
Yeah.
just like,
Be like, here you go, like this, we made it. Yeah.
and then
Well,
like come
we
back
made the
and
beginning, yeah. The beginning.
right.
Yeah.
It's not done yet, yeah.
I mean, we haven't really even. I mean, I've done. This will be my 3rd show, and it's still, to me, it just seems like the beginning of like
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do.
Oh yeah, it should. If you, I mean, you got a plan that's that far out,
Right.
it should seem like nothing yet.
Exactly.
And then take a look at the placings, you know, and in which directions he's going in. So for his first Mr. Michigan show, placing 4th, irrelevant how many competitors there were, 6, 8, 10, I don't know, I don't remember, didn't matter at that point, but he was in the top 5.
Yeah.
And even if there were only 5 competitors, he was still, you know, in the top 40%.
Yeah.
You know, there was 60% people ahead of him, but that was just 3 individuals.
And they
You
were
just using
also-
5 as a count.
Yeah.
And they were also a lot more experienced and older.
Yeah.
You were the youngest cat on stage, except
Yeah.
for Kyle at his show, which was a different type of thing.
Yeah.
I
So,
think everyone I stepped on stage with was at least like 10 years older.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
somewhere in
see
that
it.
range.
But it wasn't. And after that prejudging, I was not happy with myself because I started in the middle and like that's where you want to be, like
Yeah.
when they're comparing you, and then they pushed me to the outside and they didn't look at me again. I was like, so.
No, I think they switched you into a 3rd placing, or am I wrong? And then they moved you to the outside for 4th and 5th. I think you were
Yeah, they
center,
moved me twice.
and then he was center, and then they moved another guy to center and put him there.
Yeah.
And then what they did is they had this guy and this guy switch, I believe it was, but then took you 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th with the 5th on
Yeah.
this side here.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense.
And I
It
was,
does, yeah.
I was so upset because
Yeah.
I had like, I was so determined to like win that show, and I
Yeah.
wanted to so bad. And then after prejudging,
See
I
the
like.
excitement?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Keep going, keep going.
So then after prejudging, I was like looking at pictures that like my parents took of me on stage and shit, and I was comparing them to that first show,
Yeah.
and I was like, I already won,
Yeah.
because like I put on 30 pounds of muscle
Yeah.
in a fucking year,
And I stayed lean.
Because at the end of the day, it is like a battle within yourself. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously, no one shows up to lose. But I knew that I was on the right track, and I was like, dude,
I mean,
just
you got
gotta give
guys
it
that
time.
you just played against, or you went against that were 10 years older than you. Like you're already catching up to a lot of them, and you just started.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like the way you look at it. You should always look at it like as you're like just competing with yourself.
Right.
Because you can't control their environment. You can't control how many years of experience they have and how many times they've been able to do it.
That's a great point, because
Yeah.
that was one of the exact things that Chris Bumstead had talked about
I'm getting all
when
jittery.
he was on stage, was
Yeah.
that it was his goal and mission, but it really wasn't about him. It was about fulfilling your dreams, if you remember correctly what he said, and having the passion to do that, and including not only himself, but the entire bodybuilding industry and fitness industry, as well as the fans. The guy's smart, and he's very fucking humble.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, yeah, you can like throw a jut out every once in a while, but
Sure.
I mean, you're not gonna gain anyone from doing that.
You
It's like, why
never-
wouldn't you want to be likable?
You never
You
hear
know what
Chris
I mean?
Bumstead take the original stab. He waits, and then people try to rip on him, and he says, well, my response is, you don't look any better.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that, and he doesn't have to go any further into detail with that.
Yeah.
So,
If you can just take criticism and not have to worry about
constructive,
it.
constructive
Yeah.
criticism for sure.
Because even if people are like
bad criticism
yeah,
too, sorry.
yeah. If people are sitting there either talking crap or actually trying to help you, regardless, you can just take on that information at the time and then think about it and then react. I hate when people like react too quickly.
Let's go
to
proactive
things.
instead of reactive.
Yeah.
Is what we want. That's
Exactly.
the key term. Is to go
That's-
proactive.
Well,
Yeah.
at the beginning, like when people started like asking me for help and stuff, I kind of felt like obligated to like help people because I like to help people.
Yeah.
And it's like I know he does too, and like you get like a fulfillment from it. But now it's like, dude, I'm gonna be absolutely undeniable at this next show.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
to me, that doesn't come off as cocky. To me, that shows me that I'm gonna do my job.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna change anything about it. And he knows that my head is
Yeah.
like.
And you can see when you guys are training together, like, and like you said, people don't talk to you anymore. It's like I'll sit there and I'll casually walk past you, do the fist bump, but I'm not that. Like, any other time you're at front, I'll sit there and talk to you.
Right.
And we all
I don't
know
want to
that.
hear about how you're freaking, you got up late today and
Yeah.
had mismatched socks.
Yeah, we don't care about that at that time. We
Right.
just sit there, get through it, and go. And it's, I mean, you always say hi, and then we're just boom, like we know what we're doing. We're both here to do, like, I mean, mine is not to the level you guys are doing, but still, we're both here to
Then
do
your work.
something. Yeah, we're both here to do something, and let's do that, and then we'll talk.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
sure, what you're doing in the podcast and your training. I think one of the things that impressed me most about you was when you were training, you were doing some funky, hardcore stuff.
Yeah, bro, he
And
was
I
doing
was like,
handstands
dude,
and
who
shit.
is this guy? Man, he's off the charts. So that's what attracted me, you know, not in a weird way, but that's what attracted me to you, was watching you do things that were completely beneficial for you.
Yeah.
You weren't trying to do anything for anybody else. I come back in the aerobics room, the training room, dude, you're freaking trying 48-inch jumps and you're launching all over the place.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
that's-
handstands and shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, so
It's
yeah.
fun.
Well, and I think it's cool because when I first met Nate, because I remember seeing you at the gym like every single day, but like we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
But we'd always say hi to each other and like that'd be it.
Yep.
So I think I saw you at the bar or something.
Yep.
And, like we kind of broke the ice, but then I'd always see Nate trying to walk on his hands.
It's crazy
And
stuff.
I was like,
That's what I associate you with.
Yeah. I
A
was
hand walker, yeah.
I was like, why do you do that? And he's like, dude, I want to know how to do it. And I was like, I get it.
Okay,
I
yeah.
completely get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's literally my roommate did it once. And then
Good
I was
luck.
just like, wait, how did you do that? And he's like, just do this. And I was like, okay. And like, he hurt his wrist. And then right when he hurt his wrist, I was like, I'm still doing this, bro. Like, I'm still going to learn how to like do a handstand.
Starting with your legs straight up, falling back,
Yeah.
and then kipping them over a little bit.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're monkeying it out.
Yeah, dude, it's fun. And no, and then Hayden came up to me the other day and he's like, no, so like for real, how did you start? How did you learn how to do handstands? I was like, well, you got to be able to stand on your hands first. And he's like, oh, so you just go up against the wall? I'm like, yeah, go up against the wall and see what it feels like. Because if you can't stand up against the wall, you're definitely not going to do it
Right.
alone.
And then
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. Were you prepping for ball or something, or was there something you were doing at the time? Because I was watching
The
you do
very-
a ton of stretch reflex responses. You were
Yeah.
doing, you were doing higher standing jumps and things like that.
So that time I was big into like, I wanted to be able to dunk. And that was pretty much it.
Roger that.
And I was like, okay, well, like, let's get there. And I never got to it. I got, like, freaking close, which is just...
You were probably getting rim.
Yeah, I could get rim easy, but I just couldn't get I couldn't hold the ball and dunk at the same time. Like, I'd have to get an oop.
Mm-hmm.
And no one believes me, and Eric.
I believe you.
Eric Maxwell will correct me, but like he threw me an oop, and I tell you what, if it didn't feel like I grabbed it and like just went like that with my wrist and put it down, I was like, that's what it felt like, and that was a good enough dunk for me. But
Nice.
I got that once, and then I also right after that was training for football.
Yeah,
Semi-pro.
that's what you and I
Yeah.
were talking about. I remember
Yeah.
that correctly. I always have mad respect for anybody who's passionate about what they're going to do.
Yeah, it was
Especially
a
the
fun
finish.
time playing, and then playing at like a higher level football. And I always wanted to prove to myself because like back in high school, I was tiny. Like I was the thrower, I wasn't the runner. And then I got to this point, I was like, okay, I can run now. Like, and people are gonna like, I'm gonna let people know I can run.
Yeah.
And I got one game. And this was also a bet I had with like the long hair thing. I had a bet with a buddy. We're going to grow our hair out. And then I didn't get to play football that semi-pro year because of COVID. So then we played next year, and I was like, well, I'm going to keep the hair because I want... The whole thing was I just want to be called Sunshine. Like the guy off of Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
So I went to my
They
first...
used to call me that in high school. I swear to God.
Yeah?
I had my hair like long, and they're like,
Yeah,
But I hadn't seen the
it's
movie
the
or
easy
anything.
like go-to nickname for it. And so we went to Muskegon to play a football game, and I was one of the first guys there. I had all my pads on. I was coming out, had my hair like down because I don't like put it up when I put my helmet on, and Muskegon's locker room was right there. So like 3 dudes come out and they're like, Sunshine, and just like, yelling Sunshine.
That's classic.
And then I walk up, and then another guy's walking in their locker room, and he hears them all say Sunshine. And he looks at me and he's like, how much you want to bet you're the fucking quarterback? And I look at him and I just smile. I'm like, yeah, I am. And he's like, no shit. I'm like, yep, I'll see you out there.
Right.
And he's like, okay, cool. And that whole game, and that was the game I got to actually prove that I could run, which was nuts because I probably had like 100 yards rushing off. I mean, none of them were designed runs. It was me just scrambling. And you kind of make some weird relationships as semi-pro because people are very willing to talk in between plays. So good stuff, bad stuff, whatever.
Right.
But there was this one guy, absolutely massive, 6'5", 230, just
a
massive
horse.
dude. And he was playing outside linebacker. And I remember I took off to the left, opposite side of him, and I had just a clear shot. My wide receiver blocked the corner, and I was like, okay, this is a touchdown. Right when I got past my wide receiver, this dude just cleans me from the side. And I go right into their sideline, and he doesn't hold on to me, so I just slide in, and I jump up. I don't care. I just start running back, and their whole team is like, oh, shit. Like, this guy, Sunshine just got up quick.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what do you mean got up
Like
quick? Like,
Tyson Fury 3 now.
I was like, that was easy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or Tyson Fury 2.
Yeah, and I just got up and I kept playing, and my dad didn't tell me this, and
Or Wilder, yeah.
Yeah, Wilder,
There we
yep.
go. Let's get
The
that
new-
correct real quick. Tyson. Right.
and so there was one linebacker, and I talked to him after the game. He played for Muskegon Reds back when they went to the States and stuff. So like this dude was a big deal. I took him out of the game twice, running the ball. I ran up the ball, like I just kept a read, went right up the middle, and just flattened him. And like big dude, just flattened him. And then I kept running. Someone else tackled me. I got up, had no idea. He went out just gimping, and my dad was sitting there, and then all the coaches were like, "Dang!"
He's like, "Yeah."
He's like, "He just hit this kid." And then so 2-3 plays later, he comes back in, same exact thing, almost the same exact play. Run him over again. He's like, I'm not going back in. He literally went out, didn't go back in. And he told me that after the game. He's like, dude, you've probably hit me the hardest that I've ever been hit. And I was like,
Well, they
I was like,
probably
"That's
weren't
awesome."
even expecting you to run or anything.
Oh,
and then
no.
They're like,
Yeah,
like,
it was
fuck, he's serious.
unreal because like I mean I never had that experience in high school, and then I got that experience now in semi-pro against grown adults, and I was like, if I can do this, like I mean obviously it's semi-pro, I'm not playing no D1 or anything, but like these guys aren't slouches,
Right.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is fun. Like I'm glad I proved to myself that I could run the ball and do these kind of things, and like not only be fast and like get yards, but like I can run some people over. And
Well, it
it's
was a
fun.
mindset
Yeah.
thing too. Because if you didn't think you would, you wouldn't
Oh,
even
no.
try
And
to
what's the
run.
whole moral of the story, which you just basically collaborated everything, was the adrenaline rush, the passion, everything that you experienced as a semi-pro quarterback is what Ben and I experience almost daily.
On the gym, yeah.
Almost
Oh,
daily.
yeah.
So can you imagine, Arnold back in the day talk about like he feels like he's coming and shit all the time. Whatever, that's fine. But we don't have to go that far. But it's a pretty freaking good feeling
yeah.
that you can't replicate unless you're passionate about what you're doing.
And you can't replicate it.
You can't
working
fake
on,
it. You
working
can't
on
fake
something
it.
else. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you have to put the work in that exact moment. Like
Every single day.
Yeah, like you're lifting each moment like it's your last,
That's
and
right.
I'm running
Correct.
each play like it's my last because like you never know when you get pulled, you never know if you get injured, you never know when it may
Exactly.
be the last time you get to do it.
Well, in that first, not the first show, but the second one, the first Mr. Michigan that we did, there were things that I was like, it was not a clean prep. Like I definitely had things that I could have done better.
Yeah.
But there was definitely like the speed bumps, and now it's like, I don't allow myself to let like those distractions in anymore. And I
In
know
a healthy way. In a healthy
right,
way. Yeah.
and I know exactly what I need to do. Because the last time I stepped on stage, I was like, I could have done more.
Yeah.
And now every single time that I go into the gym, or every time I'm cooking a meal, or I'm
I
eating
could've
and
done
I'm
more. I
full,
could-
I'm
yeah.
just like, dude, I'm not fucking this one up.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh well, you know, Ben before he met Rob, he's this, and now he's 185 and that." Relatively, although Ben put 35 pounds on, I would say probably if you compared the men's fitness to the men's classic, and the difference
You're
in
saying
body,
men's physique to classic physique?
yeah, which
Okay.
you had done, the original, and then now we're in the men's classic physique.
Yep.
That he probably put on a solid 20 pounds of muscle. The percentage body fat difference was different from the two shows completely. However, in his first show, he was able to already achieve that. And in his second show, he probably achieved 95% of that same look, but with another 20 pounds of muscle on.
Yeah.
The legs tremendously had grown in the calves.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And that just all came through new training.
So what's the ins and outs, like differences between like what you said, the fitness and the classic? Like what's the difference between that?
So, and it's men's physique. It's not fitness.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
just
I
so
don't
everyone
get it
knows.
wrong. Yeah, thank
So
you.
it's
Yeah.
men's physique, and then it's classic physique. So men's physique, that's like the board trunks, like the bathing suits you'll see.
Okay.
So that's more so from the upper body, or the
Yeah.
waist and up, and then the legs aren't really brought into it as much. But there's like not an artistic touch
Concept
to it.
It's not ballet-ish. It's not posing particularly, but
But if you watch these guys in classic physique, because my first show, I didn't fucking know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was
so you
like,
just did it, yeah.
yeah. So I did the physique, and I was like, well, my legs are like kind of big, so I was like, why wouldn't I do this? So then it's like, I think I found the division that I was like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do, and that's a big jump, especially for me. I mean, I knew going into it I was gonna have to be a lot heavier and a lot bigger, and
You
we did
You
just
just
that.
have to do that in classic. You have to be bigger.
definitely,
Yeah.
I'd say so.
there's no question about
Yeah.
it that you do. Not necessarily. Yeah, there is. It's a whole different look. Even though would you say the men's fitness,
Physique.
men's physique, they're starting to get a lot bigger now.
Yeah.
But the path that we're on is completely men's classic, and it's exactly what's going to fit his body style.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at pictures of Arnold when he started, and then you look at his progression, although it may be different than the way we're progressing, you can see Ben almost identical to that style of physique, meaning the joint structures, the length of the bones, the body, the torso to the legs, all the way from the calves up into the forearms, and the traps. He has almost an identical physique to Arnold. It's pretty impressive, and that's one of the things that impressed me the most, to see that he had the right symmetry to be able to do this.
Yep.
Because it doesn't matter how much muscle you put on or how much you lift or any of that if you don't have the balance of the symmetry. An asymmetrical body does not look good as a symmetrical body, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
Or unsymmetrical, however you would say. But Ben has progressed perfectly, symmetrically on a linear scale.
Yeah.
Well, and when I met, this is going back to like when I met him, and this was like a month or two into training, I kept asking him, I was like, why me? Because he kept telling me, he's like, you're the only person I train, you're the only person I work with, and I asked him like probably a handful of times, I'm just like, why did you choose me? Like, what am I doing differently? And he's like, your like attitude towards the sport, like your drive, like you don't just talk about that you want it, like you
do it.
You do it. And I'm just blessed.
Yeah.
That
we
he
both
chose
are.
me.
We both are.
Yeah.
It's additionally to go on to a little bit furthermore. I had many injuries when I had met Ben, and I had just been kind of like going through motions and staying healthy. You know, as healthy as I could at the point.
Yeah.
But you know, I had a couple bad habits. I was still smoking cigarettes as a fitness person. Like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, and then I tightened everything up. So it's definitely a blessing for the two of us. There's no question about it. And I think I started with Ben. I couldn't even press a 45 on the hammer strength. And not that weight matters, because it really doesn't at this point in my life. But I'm doing full range of motions now with 4 tears in my right shoulder, a previous broken collarbone, many different ailments. But the last year, if just over a year, I think I've been able to progress because of his mental health, physical health, meaning my physical attributes have got better, but more importantly, my mental. I suffer with, PTSD, TBI, things like that from the Marine Corps. And having an outlet is so important, and not just for me, prior military people, but for everyday people. And that one little thing, 2 hours out of your day in the gym, even though it's a 24/7 sport, that 2 hours is critical to the eustress that you're going to create that just launches you into everything else. Knowing you need to sleep, you need to rest, you need the nutrition. You can't be drinking every night. You can't be smoking every day. There's things like that you have to exclude from your lifestyle. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy. It just means you need to go like a low moderation.
The 80-20 rule.
Exactly. Somewhere in there, yeah.
So explain eustress. Like, what is that?
There's 2 different stresses, and this goes back to my college days. There's a distress, which is a bad stress.
Yep.
Okay, and then there's a eustress, a euphoric stress. But in psychology terms, your distress are things like bad anxiety, depression, things like that. Those distresses cause you to go into depression and other ailments that really aren't really maybe possibly even there. You may create some of them, they may be there. Depression is real. We all know that. Struggle's real. Anxiety, we know that's real. But it rabbit holes you.
Yep.
So then when you build something that you can do through eustress, I don't even care, like you doing your podcast, you doing your football, that's all eustress.
Yep.
So you leave from that particular environment with that euphoric feeling. Yep. And how much better is your day as long as you're managing everything else, whether, like for me, it's through medications, through cognitive things, meditation, etc. You throw in a adrenaline rush and just the well-being to the body, you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
You know?
That's crazy that you're like the fact that you're putting yourself in stressful situations helps.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's,
like people don't understand that. Like, we're putting our bodies and doing like our minds through stress, but it's
They're
for
it's
for a reason.
So we can always think about that way in those 2 different stress environments. It's very important to understand that.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember this goes back to when, like, I met Rob, but when I met him, because we've been talking about my progression, but like the progression that he's made, I remember when I first met him, he couldn't get his left arm. His right arm, he couldn't get it up for like a double bicep.
Just the mobility wasn't there?
No, and I've had numerous cortisone shots. I've had, tons of fucking therapy. I think I was on painkillers, on Vicodin for 10 years. And I just quit all that, and I still do the icing and the modalities. But like Ben had said, I mean, gosh, what was the other day? It was...
Well, he just set his mind to it. Because I remember when I first met him, he couldn't press...
Nothing.
15-pound
dumbbells.
And the other day he did 60s.
For 10 or whatever, 7 reps. And to me, that is a eustress.
Oh, yeah.
Although there were some physical stresses that went with that I still have to be relative of or be, realistic with and understand that I need to work this
slowly
through baby hand. Through soft gloves.
Yeah.
So to say.
It's incredible. Even like the mobility that he's gotten back in his shoulder. Yeah. It's absolutely unbelievable.
The real gifts don't cost money. The real gifts come naturally.
Yeah. Because he told me. Sorry. He told me, like, when he met me, he's like, I got PTSD. And then, like, after a few months of training with him, he's like, you have no idea, like, how much this has helped me. And for me, because I felt when I first met him, he wasn't letting me pay him or anything.
Yeah. And you thought you were taking something.
I felt like I was taking and I had nothing to give, but then it felt more and more like a mutual thing.
Even my wife pulled him aside and was like, listen, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Yeah. She's been with me for 20 years now. And outside of like one of the common things that veterans do, or even people with PTSD do, or brain injuries, is they isolate. Yeah. And I was isolating probably 2 days out of the week, where I just wouldn't come out of my room. You know, and everybody, my physicians, my psychiatrists, they all know about this, you know, and the medications I take. But being able to now take a couple days of isolation to a half day isolation, and by no means am I perfect. I still have my days.
Yep.
And Ben's aware of it. That was why I was honest with him in the beginning,
Yep.
because I wanted him to be aware of what I was doing and not create a distress into our environment.
Yep.
Because that would have only caused him to not be excelling to what level he could. And what did I get in return was priceless.
Yeah.
You know?
And like the fact that he told you, like, it's easy, like, at least when someone tells you what's going on, then it's like, okay, like,
There's no wondering.
There's no wondering. And at least you're not worried about, like, okay, is he not as serious as me? He's like, no, he's dealing with other stuff
Exactly.
that he will eventually get back to me. But right now, this is me time. So that's your 80-20.
Yep.
That's
Well,
you doing what you need to do, understanding that, and then coming back to it.
For sure. Well, and then Rob, like, everyone deals with their problems differently, and Rob just deals with his on his own. And there's been times I'm like, I know you don't want to talk to me about anything, but, like, just so you know, if you
We're
ever
there.
want to talk
Yeah.
about it, I'm here.
It's nice.
And he
Open
knows
door
that.
policy. Open door policy all the way. You know? So.
And it was a little...
There's been speed bumps on my part.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. One of the most important things is to realize that those speed bumps are there. And a prime example was this morning. Okay, Ben was coming back from a family deal.
60th anniversary.
His grandparents. And 6:30 in the morning, my shoulder rolls out of place. Wakes me up dead out of my sleep. So it takes me 30 minutes to get it back in. You know, I'm in the bath. I've got a big bath to run hot water, and it's got 4 different clicks. Well, it goes back in. Then I got depressed. Then I started eating, which was the way I deal with depression sometimes. Thank God for my metabolism. And I got up. Ben was en route. I got out of bed, started fucking going, and we got to the gym. And I could either lay around today. The choices were mine.
Yeah.
Was to lay around and feel sorry for myself and be a little bitch, or do I get up, get the car started, get my gear on, and get into the gym?
And go work out.
And then
with this
here
guy.
we are finalizing your podcast before my man homie takes off.
Exactly.
Yeah, for real, huh?
No, that was like, and I wasn't obviously in contact with you recently, like, because I was mainly talking to Ben.
Roger that.
But I was like, yeah, dude, we're gonna get this podcast done. We're gonna get this, and I've had enough complications with the van where I was like, I honestly wasn't even worried that this wasn't gonna happen. I was like, it's eventually like we're gonna get this done. Like,
Well, that's just the way you are.
Yeah, I was just like, it'll get done, and I'll like, I mean, when it gets like, they obviously know my plan. They know decently enough, like when I'm trying to leave. So I'm like, I know they're gonna make it work. So I'm not really gonna be stressing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is gonna happen.
Well,
And
that's
it was
what
nice
I liked
to think
about
about
you, too. I was like... It's like, because everyone talks about shit that they want to do,
Yeah.
but then there's people that go out and fucking do it.
Yeah.
The doers and the don'ts.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what I noticed about you. It's like, especially with the handstand thing. That was the big thing. That, like, I was like, I fuck with this kid. Because it's like, there's no reason that you wanted to, other than the fact that you wanted to, and that you were actually doing it.
Shit, I'm turning Ben into a true gangster. For real.
But yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a
and
gangster, but I'm just saying. I am not claiming. So.
But, well, and with this sport, I just feel like, why wouldn't you be a sponge to everything? Especially with the help that he has.
Yeah.
Everything, I mean,
And like, once
I don't
you
think
told
there's
me
many
who he
people that
was,
know
too,
more
yeah.
about training than you.
Oh God, I don't know, Ben. I'm sure there's quite a few that do, but that's humbles me. Thank you. You know.
It's nice to think that. At least nice to
Have people
know that he thinks
give
that
me
way.
affirmation
Yeah.
for that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a nice feeling, man. It's touching.
And especially in the training world, because he knows that, like, when it comes to saying that, it's like because it has worked.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, something's obviously worked for him to say that.
And Ben's not going to get any bullshit from me. It's always straight truth. Straight truth.
Yeah.
Well, and I need to hear it sometimes,
Yeah.
too. Because there's days, like,
And
I
Ditto
look like
too.
shit.
And Ditto as well. You know, quit talking to the chicks, bro. We got shit to do.
Yeah.
You know, what do you do? Quit flirting and shit.
Yeah.
I've got a lasso with them.
Yeah.
Bring me in. But, yeah.
But no, that I just... When we've talked about this separately a few times, too, I don't really think that... I'm trying to think of how I want to word it, but it's not really a sport. It's like, yeah, you can do all the right things, but I don't think this is a sport you can do by yourself anymore. Maybe back in the day,
I agree wholeheartedly.
every single person has,
A coach.
whether it's a team or friends that are like family. It's like, I felt like, and I think you've said this to me too before, and it's like you meet 2 or 3 people in your life that will make like a huge difference, and there's no doubt in my mind that he's one of them.
You'll
There's
remember
not a
him
single.
for a long, long time. you know.
And I think what you're saying too, when it comes to the sport, like in a sport where it's such a like obviously individual and like how you keep your routine and everything, the more people you have telling you to keep going, obviously the easier it's going to be when you have more people in your corner.
And and I agree with that.
Yeah.
And what's unique about that in bodybuilding is that you, like you said earlier, we mentioned that the nucleus stays the nucleus. And then, you got, let's just go to chemistry, and you got your proteins and all your other stuff rolling around that. Well, those are your affirmations. They're outside of that, just to use an analogy. And you want to keep those around the center nucleus as positive as you can. And we had a few speed bumps in that outer layer when we were working together, and partially my fault, partially whatever fault, doesn't matter. But
we don't even look at it like that.
We don't even see it like that anymore. We just got through it.
Yep.
And the true players and the true people that really genuinely appreciate what we're doing is that outside of the nucleus.
Yeah.
And then inside that nucleus, people want to know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we help still a lot of people. And I think that's the key to being successful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure,
I think for me, like coming, because like when I met you, I'd done a bodybuilding show, but I don't really know all that much. And especially in this sport, like once you start progressing and people see that, they want to be a part of that.
Yeah,
and you talked about that too. And I think it's, for me, especially after the breakup and everything, like I was like spreading myself too far, and then I was like, I know who's there for me. It was like my family, and then it was Robert's family. Robert, of course, my roommates, like they're behind me, like no matter what the hell I do. But then, I mean, I'm not saying that the people at the gym like aren't supporting me,
No,
but they're
just not at the stage that other people are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the most selfish part of what we do is our time constraints and the part that we keep the nucleus quiet between us.
Yeah.
Because that is ours. We developed that, and we're more than willing to, put that positive environment out for just about anybody. I'm more than happy to help anybody.
But you're just not allowing anything in.
To that level, because, how many people do you invite into your home?
Exactly.
And, I had told Ben when we first started that it had been 20 years maybe since I trained anybody, even though I was still in the industry. I don't know, maybe 15 or whatever. But this was a new awakening for me, and it felt like starting from scratch again, which was amazing, but with like a whole tundra of knowledge to give to somebody. Like I was taking this 3-ring binder, a couple peachy folders back from the day.
Yeah.
And you guys don't know what those are. Like they're a little folder, they call peachy folders. They got all your sports people on them. And just giving it to him, and he notates, he documents, he writes his diet out. I couldn't ask for anything better.
And that's why I was like, why me?
Yeah.
Because I hadn't done anything like that special. I had.
You didn't think you did.
You didn't think it's imposter syndrome.
Because I didn't let you know that until I was getting more stabilized.
Yeah.
And I had to also test myself to make sure that I could give Ben what he needed. And when I started getting these automatic returns, I was like all of a sudden getting happier. And I'm like, geez, what's going on with me, man? I'm actually feeling real good today.
Let's do it, yeah.
Well, to me, that was just like fuel.
Yeah.
My family's been affected tremendously in a positive manner by it as well. Outside of my normal PTSD outbursts and things like that do happen. You just can't prevent all of those.
Yeah.
But I would say 70% better than I was a year ago.
Dang.
In certain
that's
mindsets.
amazing.
That's awesome.
I can't ever say I'm 100, but for me that's huge.
Yeah, I mean 70% is
It's tremendous.
So one question I asked my the last guy I had a podcast with, he was one of the professors in my exercise science field. Obviously you used to train 15 years ago. You said there's a big gap in that jump.
There was training people as a business.
Yeah.
So that gap was big, but I never changed my training.
You never. Yeah.
I just worked with what I had.
Yep. But from what you learned how you trained other people a long time ago to how you trained Ben, what is the overarching difference? Because there's obviously.
I've never pulled one individual under my wing and gave him 100% of my attention ever in my life.
No.
Not one individual. He's the first one.
That's why
I've gotten people ready for shows. I've had people help me get ready for shows.
Yeah.
The majority of my bodybuilding I did on my own. After I got out of the Marine Corps,
which is not easy.
It was very difficult.
Not easy.
Very difficult, but it worked, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was passion filled. So, yeah. You said.
But yeah, how did that?
Yeah, I just went out sometimes. Is it 420 yet? So yeah, how that affected that was that it just. Say that again real quick.
You're good. What was like? How did your train like? Obviously, since you've never really done it, it's kind of a harder question now to say. But like,
you mean prepping somebody specifically for a bodybuilding show? Sure.
Yeah.
I had done it one time before, and that was with my ex, with Brenda. She was fitness in the day, but we were also living together. And after that occurrence and what took place with that, and how hard it was living with somebody in the industry, although you have similar interests, it was a horrible experience. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was a lot of mental strain. And, I swore up and down I would never do that again. I would never take on another woman client for a bodybuilding show or anything like that. But what overrode all of that was the sincerity and the passion and the mindset that he had at 20. You were 20 when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Freshly 20.
Yeah, freshly 20. And to have that maturity, that level of maturity at that age was something where I was when I was, say, 25 maybe.
Yeah.
In different ways. And that's how it affected us.
So you knew he was already ahead of the curve.
He was great, And he had talked to me about some of these online coaches he had and some of this other stuff. And I'm like, well, what are you paying these guys? And I said, dump all those motherfuckers. You don't even know them.
Yeah.
You're online. What's up? I'd rather be on Snap, whatever. Talking to some chick. You're wasting your time and your money.
Yep.
And I said, let me show you how to do this wholeheartedly with no cost to you.
Yeah.
Except for passion and to be bros.
Well, and that's what I felt like I needed. Because my first coach, I mean, he did his job. He got me lean for my show, and, like, I hadn't known anything. Like, I had just learned how to, like, track my food and all this stuff. But, like, for me, I knew that I needed more of, like, an individualized training.
Yeah.
And then I met Robert, and I think, like, a week or two after I met you, I dropped my other coach, and I was like, this is just going to be better for me.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no, like, hard feelings with my other coach. I mean,
but it's a better environment overall. Like having someone work with you side by side rather than on your phone. Is
Exactly.
No different than your MMA fighters, your boxers. They switch camps all the time.
Yeah.
Well, basically, what Ben did was he switched Camp A for Camp Robert.
Yeah.
And I was just fortunate enough to be in the industry for so long,
to where you can
do that for somebody, and to backtrack just a second on that. There was a gentleman named Kevin who trained me when I was 17 before I went in the Marine Corps, and they would never let me pay them either.
Yeah.
Just these solid brothers, man, from San Diego, from the hardcore, down on Washington Street and shit down there. Some of my boys down in the Diego area. And they just took me under their wing. They saw me training one day, and they're like, we want to help you get ready for a show. Is that what you're doing? I said, yeah. And this was at Bally's Fitness, back in the day.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that chain is still around, but I was given that gift, too, for a short amount of time. But it made me who I am today.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
And now you have
pay that forward.
Yeah.
Were you like a sponge? Did you just listen?
Oh yeah, everything. I used to skip school and take my encyclopedia building stuff and all my journals and everything and sit under the tree at the library, skip a couple classes, and just read, eat my egg whites, all my shit. And then I would go train, and I still did really good in high school. And same thing when I was in college, at the junior college in Cali. I was at Irvine Valley College. I'd carry my backpack with all my eggs, everything in it every day. And people would trip. I'd eat my own meal.
People look at you like you're
there.
crazy.
Probably about, I don't know, when I got up to about 220, 230, people were just like, okay, this little cat's serious.
Yeah, he's got his shit down.
I met so many cool people in the fitness environment and the exercise science departments and all that out in California. And I never had support come from professors like that before, or anybody.
Yeah.
And that fueled me tremendously as well. I mean, to have Dr. Garhammer come up to me, who's, world-renowned globally, and come to my bodybuilding shows, and know when I'm phasing out on the final because I'm so carb depleted, he said, just do what you can do. I know you're serious. You haven't had A's all the way up until then. Even if you fail, I know you know your stuff.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah. Not very many
What professor is going to give you that kind of clout?
Yeah.
And then just sitting there, and he sat all the way in the back, all by himself, and he said, you're on a good mission, kid.
Yeah. And they keep going, and
That's kind of how I feel with my parents.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember, I want to say it was 3 years ago. It was right before I paid, like, my online coach. I was like, I sat my parents, because I didn't have the money. I mean, I was like, Mom, like, will you help me, like, pay for this? And she's like, well, why do you want to do this so bad? And I remember I was like, because in high school I played basketball, football, wrestling, and hockey, and like I was always decent at them, but I never felt like I could like excel. And that's exactly what I told her. I'm like, I feel like this is something that I can excel in.
as the veins pop out of
Yeah.
your arm. See, I mean, have you not seen a tremendous difference in
Yeah.
games?
In the right lighting and everything.
Right.
yeah.
And at the beginning, they were like, I don't know, which I completely get. I mean, it's a
I
weird
mean, their
thing.
parents. Yeah.
And now every time I see them, because at first, like, I mean, it's a selfish sport. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have the time to go out and see your family and friends all the time. You can't really go out to eat all that often. You can't drink. And at first, I think they were just kind of thinking I was like fucking off a little bit, but like I'm not.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I am not.
I think one of the most critical points was that I had suggested that we all get together, the families,
Yeah.
and that I could actually sit down. You know, of course, Denise was checking me, showing me
Yeah. My mom was
she's a
analyzing.
sweetheart. She's a sweetheart. She's on the money, dude. And then Dad, of course.
He was
He
drunk.
was, yeah, well, not he was so buzzed, but he was totally cognitive of what was going on, but he was just watching. And then they're like, "Who the fuck are you, dude?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do? Man, fucking deer and hump my son? You gay or something?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, dude." And that was one of the. And I have nothing against gay people by any means. I didn't mean that in a derogatory sense. I meant it in just maybe they were thinking I was a weirdo.
Yeah.
So.
Because from their
Because
perspective,
obviously they already thought
I'm his parents' age.
Yeah, they already thought he was weird anyway.
And
Right.
yeah,
You bring
right.
someone else and he's like, oh, this
And
guy's
I was
weird
this
too.
little
They're like-
stumpy tug you're bringing in
Yeah.
who's all freaking about 5'6". And hey, trust me, Mom, it's not my boyfriend. And we had a great evening. I think we just did little hors d'oeuvres. We ate. We hung out with the families. And ever since then, I think that both of his parents, as well as his brother and his sister, realized what his dream is.
Yeah.
We broke that ice.
Yeah.
So now when he speaks about it,
They
out
actually
loud,
listen. Yeah.
they have something that's tangible,
Yeah.
to understand.
Yeah.
well, my parents, they've really. I mean, bodybuilding is a hard sport to like really grasp and like understand, be able to like watch a show and like know what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And at my first show, they were like, "What the fuck? Like, where am I at?"
But the second show, that you were so pumped up, man.
Yeah,
It was
and
great.
now my dad's like asking, he's like, "How's training going? Like, how are you doing mentally? Like, how's Rob? Like, all this stuff." I'm
Yeah.
just like, it's spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And his
exactly.
parents pretty much know everything about me too, for the most part. And it's important.
Yeah.
Because at
I
the
mean,
beginning,
if you
I
guys are
was-
gonna have that relationship, I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna. I mean, they're gonna obviously have to know.
right.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I'd just be talking, because I'd freaking talk about you every single time that I went home, because that's like the majority of what I do. And how I
Shit, what did
spend my
someone tell
time.
me in the gym the other day? Said, "You fucking post more shit about Ben than anybody." And I was laughing my ass off. I was like, "Well, dude, he's my athlete."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, my like every single time that I go home, because I really don't get to see my family as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'd like to go home and see them all the time, but I just, for what I'm doing, it's just not always possible. And there's
Yeah.
times that they get irritated with me, but they know that I'm not.
Doing something.
They're
stupid.
not.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, I can't talk. They know that I'm not like fucking off. They know what I want, and they know that I'm doing what I need to do to get to where I need to be.
I
Yeah.
think they see that discipline exude through his behaviors and what he's doing at like social gatherings and things like that, because we plan for those, and we know that there's going to be some alcohol involved. We know there might be some whatever you do involved. Some people like to smoke pot, whatever it may be, but those are just things that we save for later to utilize when we have time to utilize them. It's easy to sit down and drink a six-pack every night. It's easy to sit back and smoke a doobie every day, but you have to remember that, in moderation.
Yeah. And what's the real goal?
Yeah.
And if that does get to a point where it's a hindrance,
you got
obviously it's gotta stop.
you have to
Yeah.
put some type of chokehold on it, just a little bit. So
Well, and I got no problem.
no, he doesn't. It's just
Yeah.
amazing, and that
Yeah.
was one of the other things that I liked, how he controlled himself in certain environments.
Yeah.
So. And we try to keep our environment semi-healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say for the most part.
It's super easy not to go to a bar for me and not drink.
Isn't that great?
Oh yeah. I mean, the only thing I usually do is I'll get one beer just to hold.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that sucker's only about half full like the
Yeah.
entire night, and it's just like I don't even finish it.
It's better
sometimes,
that
but-
way.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here. I'm chilling. You may think I'm drunk, but I'm not.
I'm not leaving to get a DUI.
Yeah, no,
stuff
no.
like that. So
Just added calories too, like, and you
Catabolic
feel
calories,
and
on
you
top
feel
of
like
that.
crap like the next day. Like, there's no point in that. Like, It's the worst thing ever is waking up the next day and it's like 9 o'clock and it's like, okay, pre-workout, get ready to go lift. And it's like, nope, I feel like crap. I'm not going to lift today. It's like,
I'm gonna go get that freaking #1 sausage McMuffin meal. You know what I'm saying?
That's the habits you have
It
when you
is.
do that. And it's like, you don't want to put yourself in that situation, so it's really easy not to.
Yeah.
Well, and
That's
it's
awesome.
all what you want.
Yeah. What do you really want? Do you want
Exactly.
to go have a good time, quote unquote, or...
Well, it's like I've been to parties. I know like what's going on there. It's like I've done it before, and it gets me nowhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when then it kind of like triggers the depression, not the night of, but the next morning, I'm like,
Oh, there's no
fuck
doubt.
me.
There's no doubt you're definitely off the next day. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
You're
you're
always off.
you're putting out there the same amount of passion and energy that we do in training into you traveling across states soon and doing your podcasts, and so that's all very passionate for you.
Yeah.
So each day you do a podcast, I imagine you get some kind of little high off
Oh,
of
yeah.
it, like we said earlier,
Oh,
you
yeah.
stress off.
Yeah.
It. So
Oh,
now
for
you're
sure.
finalizing your Michigan thing,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna freaking be off, dude, off to the races.
I can't wait.
When I think the way that you are, it's gonna work.
Yeah.
There's no
Just
question.
because, like, if you're
I
not
just
gonna
got
quit.
literally all you have. All I believe I have to do at this point is put in the effort, and it will eventually just happen.
There's a
That's
reason
how
we
I
all
feel
met.
too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You didn't know I knew anybody out on the West Coast. I didn't know who you were. You asked me if I want to do a podcast. I'm like, who's this guy? A fucking PI or some shit? You know?
yeah. Because the
What
first
is
time,
it?
the
You
first
knew,
time I
dude.
asked you, you kind of like,
I was
I'll
like,
get back to you.
what?
I'll get back to
What?
you.
Let me call you when I'm ready, like Ricky
Yeah,
Ross said.
And I was
Freeway
like,
boys.
yeah. I was like, I
So-
know he's skeptical, but I was like, because I mean, you were probably the like fifth or 6th one I'd done, so I was like, yeah, I've done a couple. Like, I haven't posted them yet, but I have done some. Like, I kind of know what I'm doing, and it was funny, like that whole like. I know what you're saying though, because I definitely like the first time I asked you, I was like, okay, this guy's kind of skeptical on me.
Well, it was,
right?
you know, my ex-wife used to have a PI come take pictures of me at the gym and
Oh.
try to record everything I was doing
Oh.
and try to sue me for more money and this and that. So that actually, believe it or not, never left my mindset, having somebody do that to you. It's so, it's almost like being raped, you know, not, and I mean, that no comparison, I'm just using it as an analogy.
Yeah.
You feel
Violated.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's the word I was looking for, violated. And even to this day, you know, she set me up with undercover chicks and shit, and
Yeah.
you know, it was just insane,
Yeah.
and totally insane, a total sociopath. So for me, it was like, well, what, you know, what the fuck is Nate, man? What's up?
I come out.
Podcast my shit.
Yeah.
Well, and
I mean,
especially
fuck.
like with bodybuilding, I mean, like, I think bodybuilders are some of the most like grounded people just on how regimented they are, and like, there's not a lot of people that come in and out of our lives.
And that may be the quietness that you see in a lot of them. You know,
Yeah.
we got, you know, Jordan's getting ready to turn pro, and he's very quiet at the gym.
He hardly says a
Yeah,
word
he's just
until he
a-
starts
he-
doing a set.
Yeah, then he gets all crazy style, and he's amazing. He's an amazing individual. But you would take his
Also very
original
humble.
body, you know, mannerisms and everything as if he was cocky or this and that. And the guy's so humble.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? Big
Which-
guy in the gym.
Jordan
getting turned
Janowitz?
pro.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He's so
Yeah.
humble, but
Yeah.
you would be intimidated just because of his size and how he is to go say hi to him or anything
for
like
sure.
that. But he's probably one of the most. I mean, anybody who's 250, my height, walking around with a, you know, what do you call it? Put his kids in there in the gym. His 2-year-old.
Yeah.
He's working out. I mean, he's serious.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, he throws
Little
eight
wagon, he's
plates
got-
on
yeah.
a bar and deadlifts it for 4 or 5, and it's like,
It's
oh
insane.
god.
Well, and he is so determined.
Yeah.
He's gonna do it because if you look at him, he's probably one of the best amateur bodybuilders in the world.
It probably is.
Just
yeah, hands
like
down.
from an amateur standpoint, because you look at the shows that he's gotten second and third in, like right on that cuff of going pro, like
Yeah.
he is probably one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And
That's nuts.
He's good to go with it.
he's gonna do it though.
Because I never really, I knew that he competed, but I never obviously know the standard at which he competes, and I was like, obviously he's huge.
I mean, you
He's
see his
massive,
picture on the wall,
and
it's
he's
just like,
strong.
whoa.
Yeah, it's unreal. But you got like obviously if you don't know the sport, you don't know the comparisons. You don't know where he's at on the scale.
Sure.
Yeah.
No,
That's
Jordan's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
I remember the first like week I went to that gym, I asked Jordan to like take a video of one of my sets.
Yeah.
And I was so intimidated, and then I talked to him, and he's like, "Oh, you compete," and I've
Yeah.
been friends with him ever since.
since, yeah.
Yeah.
Super
That's
cool
dope.
cat. So
That's dope.
right on.
Dang.
Good.
I think we're good.
Shit.
How long do you think that was? Don't look.
70 minutes.
No, more.
More?
What?
85?
It's 130. I mean, not 100, but an hour 30.
Nice.
no
Good
shit.
times.
Yeah.
I guess summing it up is say, Nate, this has been real, brother.
Yes.
I'm excited to see you and you, or at least hear from you as you cruise on your travels and to
for
see
sure.
your initial
Yep.
podcast get out on deck. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you looking me up for this.
Yeah.
It's been
It was
been a pleasure.
Yeah, dude, it's been really
Absolutely.
fun.
Right
It was
on.
unreal meeting you, and it was unreal hearing your story and
Yeah.
everything, and it was cool just working.
I'm
with
excited
you
to see where you and I are gonna go
Man,
because I just think the way
2025.
that we are, it's like
2025
work.
next podcast and
2025. I will be qualified for the O.
Live podcast.
Yeah, live.
We had a live podcast at the nationals
yeah.
level.
Let's
When
do
we
it.
get to the national levels, because are
gonna
you
do
planning
it.
on returning to Michigan?
I plan on returning on this trip just because I'm going with my brother.
Okay, gotcha.
But if I get a job or something along those lines, I'm
You're staying.
outie.
Shoot, nice.
I'm gonna go find that.
I fuck with that.
I'm gonna go find
I
a
like
job.
that.
I'm gonna go do what I can and make some money and live in a van.
Best of luck to you, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything.
Yep.